Day 1. Bright daylight struck my eyes. At first I didn't pay attention, as I wasn't fully awake yet. On their own, my legs carried me towards the door. Damn, looks like I fell asleep and missed my stop. But there was no door. I looked around the bus and realized that it wasn't a good old worn-out Lias. Instead, the bus was an Icarus model, a new one. I froze in shock. How? What? Am I dead? Have I been kidnapped? No, I must be dead. I patted myself down feverishly, slapped myself painfully in the face a few times, banged my forehead on the back of one of the bus seats. It's clear, either I'm still alive or you can still feel pain when you're dead. But how could this happen? Maybe I slept for too long and ended up at the bus depot. And then what? Did they just put me onto another bus? I rushed out and took a look around. Greenery everywhere I looked. Tall grass on the roadside, trees, flowers. Summer. How? It was winter just a moment ago. My head was aching unbearably, as if it was going to explode. Slowly I began to remember. A long road running off into the distance, forests, plains, fields, lakes, and forests again. I think I was sleeping, but then how can I remember all of it? And then, a gap. Some girl leaning over me. She softly whispered something into my ear. And then a gap again. And then I woke up again. And then I woke up here. Who was that strange girl? Was she just a dream? For some reason, thinking about her made me feel better and calmed me down a little. I felt warmth all over, coming from the inside. Could it be her who brought me here? Then I need to find her. And the best place to look for her is away from here. I rushed to the left, then to the right, and stopped, hesitating over where to go. Finally I ran in the direction from which the bus had probably came. Physical exercise does refresh one's mind. Thoughts became clearer, and it gets a little easier to evaluate the surrounding reality. Not in my case, however. I was sitting on the roadside, wheezing and trying to ease my sore throat by gulping breaths of hot air. In any case, the run did its job. The fear withdrew for a while. Maybe I really am just dreaming. Though recalling myself hum on the bus, I immediately rejected the idea. I am neither dreaming nor dead. A narrow road ran through the field and far into the distance. That exact same road from my dream. I must be very far away from home. And it's not just that it was winter yesterday and it's summer now. It's the whole environment. Of course, summer's usually like this, green and hot, but here everything is not entirely lifelike. Everything looks like it was taken from the paintings of Russian landscape artists of the 19th century. The grass is just too lush, the bushes are not like what bushes should be. They're so thick that you can't see anything through them, like treetops, honestly. and the trees themselves. The forest was quite far away, but the trees looked as if they had closed their ranks and were now just waiting for the order to advance onto the fields and plains. I caught my breath and looked at the bus, which was now barely visible. That was a good run. Fear overtook me once again. Those power lines. There must be people here. What does it mean? In fact, it means nothing at all. Couldn't they have power lines even in hell? Roasting sinners over hot coals, that's so last century. I must have reached the point of no return, after which you should either lose your mind completely or finally try to understand what's going on. And while I still have a choice, I should pick the second option. I slowly headed back to the bus. Of course it was scary, but I'm not likely to find an answer in the fields or the woods, and this wretched bucket of balls is the only kind of link that I have with the real world. I should carefully scout the area. A brick wall and its gates crowned with a Savionac sign, statues of pioneers standing on either side, and a road sign nearby showing the bus route number 410. Savionac means owlet, so little owl, basically. The trip's taking a bit too long today. I smirked. A person may start acting inappropriately in extreme situations. Something like that is probably happening to me now. This place didn't look abandoned at all. No rust on the gates, no damage to the walls. Savionac. What could have a name like that? Judging by the pioneer statues, it could be a kid's summer camp. Moreover, it appears to be open. Of course, the simplest explanation, logically speaking, explains nothing at all. That's not true at all. But alright. The strange girl, the altered bus, summer, the pioneer camp. Thousands of theories went through my mind instantly, from alien abduction to lethargic sleep, from a hallucination to a time and space shift. None was worse than any other, but there was really no way to pick a single one. Then it occurred to me, I can try to make a phone call. Finally! I took out my cell phone and dialed the first number from my contact list. But instead of signal strength bars, the screen was showing thick cross. Alright, there may be no signal at such a remote place. I cannot be the only one who came here. Buses don't drive themselves. I examined the bus from all sides to make sure that it wasn't a hallucination. Bits of dirt on the bottom, some rust here and there, faded paint and worn out tires. No, this is definitely a very ordinary Icarus. Yeah, exactly the kind of bus which takes you to places beyond your understanding if you carelessly fall asleep. I gave a nervous chuckle. It came out by itself sporadically, because this wasn't the right place or time to laugh. Where on earth is the driver? I cautiously sat down on the curb beside the bus and started to wait. My patience didn't last long. My anxiety seemed to have reached its peak, and I started to go slightly mad. In such a situation, anyone would have probably felt something similar. Aliens and parallel universes were gone from my imagination, leaving only void and darkness. Is this how everything will end? How my life will end? But I wanted to do so much. There were so many things that I had no time for yet. I was overwhelmed by the idea this was definitely the end. But why? It's not fair. Surely I'm no worse than anyone else. God, why? Tears were burning my eyes unbearably. I curled up and started rolling in the grass. Okay then. Why? What did I do? Why me? But my cries were only heard by the speechless statues of the pioneers and a bird on a tree, which immediately flapped its wings and took off, crying out something in its own bird language, as if laughing at the idiot who dared to interrupt its after-dinner nap. I was left breathless from weeping and just lay quietly sobbing occasionally. After a while I managed to pull myself together. My mind cleared up a bit, as if terror and the fear of death gave me a little break. All in all, if someone wanted to kill me, what is all this for? It doesn't look like an experiment either. If this is just some crazy coincidence, then there's probably no threat. Anyway, for now it seems there's no danger. The panic was soon gone. Of course, the blood was still pounding in my temples and my hands were still shaking, but at least I could think clearly now. Right now there's nothing I can really change anyway. So no matter how much I think or how mad I get, it would only make things worse. Until some actual facts appear, there's really no point in making guesses. In any case, I won't learn anything by lounging about here. This camp, if of course it is really a camp, looked like the only place where people could be, so I decided to go there, and hardly had I reached the gates when a girl came out from behind them. Hello. Wearing a pioneer uniform. My logic didn't let me down this time. Okay. Then again, a pioneer uniform in the 21st century. And then again, a girl here. I froze, unable to take a step. I felt very much like running away. Running as far away as I could from this place, far from this bus, gates, statues, and far from this bloody bird with its siesta. Just running, free like the wind, faster and faster, waving to the planets passing by, winking at the galaxies. Easy there. Running, becoming a pulsar ray, turning into vestigial radiation, running to face the unknown. Run no matter where, as long as it is far away from this place. Meanwhile, the girl came closer and smiled. I couldn't help but notice her beauty, even though I was trembling with fear. Human instincts work independent of consciousness, and while only 5% of the brain is responsible for cognitive processes, the remaining 95% are always busy sustaining life and in particular ensuring stable functioning of the hormonal system. Okay. I desperately wanted to get less complicated and stop thinking in formal quotes from an encyclopedia, though my thoughts appeared one by one, being stupid, out of place, as if taken from an internal monologue of the hero of some junky soft-cover crime fiction book. A pretty Slavic face, long braids that looked like 2 armfuls of fresh hay, blue eyes you could drown in. Hi, you must have just arrived. Okay, second choice, finally. Do not reply, do reply. Why wouldn't I reply? Yeah. Alright then, welcome. She smiled broadly. Strange, it looked as if I had just a normal girl in front of me. But I shouldn't have returned here. The woods and fields seemed better. What shall I do next? Try to speak with her as if she was human? Or run away? Or what? the blood was pumping unbearably in my head, tearing it apart from the inside. A little bit more, and the poor pioneer girl would be splattered with the gruesome contents of my skull. What's so funny about that? The girl looked me over. It sent shivers down my spine and my knees started to tremble. Nothing. Great then. Great? What's so great about that? Suddenly a thought crossed my mind. To hell with all. Forget about the bus behind me, the fact that it was winter yesterday and summer today. I wanted to rip off my itchy sweater and just accept that all this is actually happening. Everything is as it should be. All this is for the best. Will you happen to know? We should go to our camp leader. She'll tell you everything. Look, you go straight ahead to the square, then turn left. You'll see several small cabins. She pointed to the gates as if I knew what was behind them. Well, you can ask someone where Olga Dmitrievna's cabin is. Dmitrievna is a patronymic, a derivative of a person's father's name. In this case, Dmitri, put by Russians after the person's first name as a sign of respect or formal address. Alright. So if your father's name is Stephen, for example, you would be Stevievich if you're a man, or Stevievna. Stevenievna. Oh god, that sounds awful. Alright. I got it? Of course I didn't. Well, I've got to go now. The girl waved her hand at me and disappeared through the gates. It seemed as if to her I was something ordinary, and all this show with the bus and the travels, while awake or asleep, were troubling only to me, while everything here is just the way it is supposed to be. Camp leader, pioneer uniform. What, are they doing a historical reenactment here? I hope I won't find Lenin standing atop an armored car in the square. But even that would not surprise me right now. After standing alone for a while, I headed into the camp. A mere 50 meters ahead, a small one-story house popped up on the left side. The sign near the door said clubs. I was about to come closer. Okay. When the door suddenly opened and a short girl wearing a pioneer uniform came out. Her pretty face gave me the impression of one suffering for the fate of the whole of mankind with a truly universal sorrow. As soon as she saw me, the girl froze as if frightened. I froze too, considering what was best to do, to approach first or wait until she showed some initiative. Or maybe run away after all. Although this last option was constantly being suggested only by my self-preservation instinct, at least that's what I'd like to believe. Not the worst human instinct, but far from the most logical. If this instinct played poker against deductive abilities, the outcome would be predetermined. I like this guy. And those deductive abilities, or at least their semblance, were hinting to me that there was no need to be afraid of this girl. Suddenly somebody jumped out of nearby bushes. A girl wearing a bright red t-shirt with USSR written on it. Such a perfect reproduction of the age. She looked quite short from a distance and was probably younger than both pioneer girls. The one at the gates and this girl at the door of the clubs. At last I decided to come closer, but the USSR, as I called her in my mind, jumped toward the first girl and started telling her something while wildly waving her hands. The other girl in turn seemed confused and lowered her gaze, remaining silent. I would have probably continued to observe their amusing dialogue, but the USSR suddenly pulled something out of her pocket and started waving it in front of the first girl's face. This something turned out to be a grasshopper. Eee! The first girl squealed. She must not be too keen on insects, as she instantly rushed off towards the place where Lenin presumably made his speech about the workers' and peasants' revolution. That is to say, towards the square. The USSR glanced at me, grinned playfully, and dashed after her. Not a bad start to the day. I have absolutely no clue where I am, besides that there are some kids here, role-playing as pioneers. And as far as I can tell, this place is located thousands of kilometers away from my home. It might even be a different reality. And this was indeed a reality. I mean, everything around me seemed so real, if a little embellished, that I was starting to think that in fact, my previous life could have been just a dream. And what am I supposed to do now? I was picking at the cracked paving stones with my shoe and staring aimlessly at the club's building. Just a few more seconds before I have to come up with some decision. That's when I recalled myself rolling on the grass, weeping. I cringed in disgust. Perhaps it's another instinct. When all energy for whimpering and self-pitying is used up, the body either goes into hibernation or mobilizes its reserves. Mine seemed to have chosen the second option because out of the blue I found a determination to figure out what was going on. And in order to do that, I had to act like a man, like a human, to maintain the dignity of a representative of my own world. I followed the path to the left, on the right side of which stood small cabins, apparently the homes of the local pioneers. Actually, they looked quite cozy from the outside. Even though I was born in the Soviet Union, I had never been part of its children's organizations, neither the pioneers nor even the younger October children. I imagined the daily life of a typical pioneer camp a bit differently. Huge barracks with long rows of metal bunks. Wake up call at 6 o'clock, played by a siren. 1 minute to make your bed. Then joining the formation at the drill square. I think you might be thinking of the military. Or wait, could I be confusing it with something else? Yes. Suddenly something struck me on the back. I staggered but remained on my feet, turned around and prepared to fight heroically for my life. But all I found was another girl standing before me. My mouth hung open in surprise. Pick your jaw up off the ground. I closed my mouth. The same pioneer uniform, but the way she was wearing it looked, let's say, provocative. It's not that provocative, come on. Like all the girls I had met before, this one was rather cute, but her overly arrogant expression killed any desire to get to know her better. New here, are you? Fine, see ya. She threw a threatening glance at me and walked past. I waited for the pioneer girl to turn at the corner. Who knows what else she might have been up to. The most interesting thing was that even this hostile girl seemed completely normal to me. She didn't give off the feeling of some deadly danger, except maybe the danger of getting punched in the nose. At last I managed to make it to the square. There was no Lenin on an armored car, although one could easily expect something like that after all that had happened. Instead, however, a monument to a certain comrade towered in the middle of the square. The letters on the pedestal read Genda. Must be some big figure in the party. and there were some small benches at the sides. It's quite pleasant here. Where did that girl tell me to go? To the left or to the right? To the left, to the right, to the left, to the right. And why am I going there anyway? Ah, right, I've decided to pretend to be normal. So, to the right. Through a small grove. I came out on a pier. I came out at a pier. I must have taken a wrong turn. Hey, wrong way. I turned towards the voice. The first girl stood before me. Now what did I tell you? Take a left at the square, wasn't it? She had changed from her pioneer uniform into a bikini. Oh, I still haven't introduced myself. My name is Slavia. Actually, my full name is Slaviana, but everyone calls me Slavia. So you can too. Yeah. I still felt a bit confused, so I couldn't come up with a more meaningful answer. And what's your name? It felt like she could see right through me. Simeon. Nice to meet you, Simeon. Alright, I'm almost done here. Could you wait here a minute? I'm going to change and we'll go to Olga Dmitrievna together. Agreed? Agreed. After this exchange, she ran off. I sat on the pier and let my feet hang into the water. I was wearing heavy winter boots, but in such weather there was nothing wrong in getting my feet wet. Furthermore, it let me cool myself a little. Looking at the river, I was brainstorming and processing everything that has happened. If this is some kind of conspiracy, it's a weird one, even too friendly at times. And it really looks more like a random event. Some entirely incomprehensible random event. Shall we go? Slavia was standing beside me, dressed in the pioneer uniform again. Let's go. I've been here for a very short time, but of all the people I've met, she looks like the least suspicious. However, this fact is already suspicious itself. We walked to the square. The USSR girl and the girl who hit me on the back were there chasing each other. Is that some kind of game they're playing? Uliana, enough running. I'll tell everything to Olga Dmitrievna. Aye, aye, Captain. I decided not to question Slavia for a while about what was going on or the local residents. Better meet with this mysterious Olga Dmitrievna first. Sounds like she's the boss here. We walked past the rows of almost identical cabins, some of which looked like fat beer barrels, while others looked more like household sheds. Finally, Slavia stopped in front of a smallish one-story cabin. It looked like an artist's painting. The faded paint, chipping here and there with age, was sparkling in the sun. The window shutters, slightly ajar, were swaying almost unnoticeably in the wind, and huge lilac bushes were growing at the sides. It seemed as if this ramshackle hut was drowning in a storm of purple silk, and the lilacs, like some elemental force, were inexorably destroying the troop leader's house. What are you standing around for? Let's go. Slavia snapped me out of my daydreaming and stopped teasing Lena already. What the fuck? Rena? What was that? Sounds like there's someone inside. Indeed, a moment later, the door swung open and Uliana ran out and dashed past with the same mischievous grin. The pigtailed girl came out next. Don't let it bother you, Lena. So her name is Lena. You gotta be thankful it's not Rena, at least. Yeah, that must be some reference that I'm not getting. But I don't. Instead of finishing her sentence, she blushed and quickly headed towards the square. For some reason I felt like turning and following her with my eyes, but Slavia said, "Come." We entered the cabin. Inside it looked something similar to what I'd imagined. 2 beds, a table, a couple of chairs, a simple carpet on the floor, a wardrobe. Nothing special, but at the same time it felt home-like and cozy, although this room was almost in the same state of disorder as my own flat. The girl standing near the window appeared to be about 25 years old. Nature had obviously gifted her with a pretty face and a good body. At least one thing can keep you happy in this pandemonium. The locals are beautiful. You're finally here. Camp leader, she's the camp leader. Alright. Excellent. My name is Olga Dmitrievna. I'm the camp leader. Nice to meet you. I'm Simon. I decided to talk as if I wasn't surprised by anything that was going on. She came closer. We've been expecting you since early morning. You've been expecting me? Yes, of course. And when does the next bus come? And why do you need it? Yeah, right. Why would I need it? I guess I shouldn't ask direct questions. The people here may react to them quite unlike how I'd prefer. And I doubt I'd get any answers. No reason, just curious. By the way, where are we exactly? Our mailing address, I mean. I wanted to send a letter to my parents to tell them I got here fine. For some reason I had a desperate idea that if I played along, I would find something out. Oh, but your parents called just half an hour ago. Send their regards to you. Now that's a surprise. So can I call them? Because I forgot to tell them something before I left. No. She gave me a sweet, spontaneous smile. Why not? We don't have a phone here. Yeah, exactly. Then how could my parents make a call to here? I've just come back from the district's central town. I talked with them there. So that's how it is. And can I somehow get to the town? No. She kept the same smile. Why not? Because the next bus only comes in a week. I decided not to inquire how the troop leader managed to get there and back. I would get no answer anyway. All the time Slavia was standing next to me and seemed to find nothing odd in our conversation. Oh, we need to find a uniform for you. I've got absolutely no desire to put on pioneer shorts or to wear the ridiculous red neckerchief. However, wearing winter clothes in summer isn't a great idea either. Right, thank you. I wonder if I'm the only one here who finds it strange that someone's wearing a coat and winter boots in such heat. Right, yo. I'll be off then, and you can get yourself acquainted with the camp. And don't forget to come to dinner in the evening. Having said that, she walked out of the cabin. No, walked is not the right word. She rushed out. I ended up alone with Slavia. I must go too. Got things to do. Take a walk, look around the camp a bit. See you in the evening. If there's no threat or catch to this, then this reality as embodied by Slavia becomes more and more appealing. For the first time today I realized that it was awfully hot here, although obviously my winter clothes were to blame for that. I took off my coat and dropped it onto the bed. My pullover followed it, and I was now wearing only the shirt. That's much better. All I could do now was follow their advice and go look around the camp. I'll try to find something out in the meantime. Passing the local residential district, I saw a pioneer guy coming my way. And it was really a pioneer guy, not a pioneer girl. Apparently there were men even in this kingdom of Amazons. Hello, you're new here. You must be Simeon, right? And how do you? Everyone knows already. I'm electronic, by the way, the real one. You can call me that. Electronic, the real one. Things were going from crazy to completely insane. Electronic was a robot character appearing in popular Soviet film and book series. He looked like an exact copy of a school kid called Sergei Chisikov. Alright. Rihanna also calls me cheesy. Cheesy? On toast with mushrooms? Because my last name is Chisikov. I see. Let me show you around. I accepted his offer, as it would have taken much longer to get to know this place alone. Fine, let's go. We ended up at the square again. As if this place was all there. As if this place was all there is to this camp. Lena was sitting on one of the benches, reading some book. Electronic confidently approached her. Hello, Lena. Meet the new guy, Simeon. He started briskly. Hello. Well, you could say we've met already, in a way. Yes. She looked away from the book for a moment, glanced at me, blushed and went back to reading, as if not noticing that we were still here. Alright, let's go on. I was at first surprised that meeting this girl was reduced to a couple of words, but then I thought it was better this way. Electronic's vigorous activity did not fit well with Lena's shyness. Let's go. Next we came to a building which I instantly identified as a canteen. And this here, I know, this is where you consume organic food. Yeah, something like that. On the canteen's porch stood the unfriendly girl who hit me on the back earlier. At the sight of her, my joking mood vanished in a blink of an eye. Really, now is not the best time to be pulling this guy's leg, even though he's quite hilarious. First, I need to figure out what's what here, or at least where I am. Her over there, that's Alisa Dvachevskaya. Be careful around her. He spoke in a whisper. Don't ever risk calling her Dvache, she doesn't like that. Dva means two in Russian. The whole nickname sounds exactly like two ch in Russian, a reference to the late 2ch.ru anonymous image board. What did you say? What did you call me? She must have heard him. In the blink of an eye, Alyssa jumped down the porch, lovely music by the way, and dashed towards us. Alright, you'll manage from here onwards. Electronic took to his heels. Okay, run after him, do nothing. No, I'm fine here. Alyssa, running past, stopped for a moment and growled. I'll deal with you later. Deal with me? What did I do wrong? I added a forced guilty smile to my words. But what am I guilty of? She made no reply and carried on chasing Electronic. Looks like I'll have to kill time alone, waiting for dinner. I decided to go east. At least in the direction where east would be in my world. Soon after I found myself near a football pitch. A game was in full swing here. I guess Watching it for a bit wouldn't do any harm. In my childhood and teen years I was not a bad player myself, and even thought of going professional, but a few injuries in a row killed my desire to risk my health for the sake of uncertain chance in the game. Kids of different ages were running around the pitch. I could see a boy of about 10 and a girl of about 14 years old. A girl? Hey, that's Uliana. Alright, so she plays football. What's so surprising? She seems a restless one after all. I was standing quite far from the pitch, but she still noticed me. Hey you, Uliana shouted. Wanna play? I didn't know how to answer. On the one hand, running around for 10 minutes is no big deal. On the other hand, any wrong move in my situation could be my final one. Really? You think it's that dangerous? But in any case, my attire wasn't suitable for this weather. If I played in winter boots and warm jeans, I would sweat like a pig. And playing barefoot and without jeans would be simply unethical. Maybe another time, alright? I shouted in response, turned around and walked back. I was followed by Liana's screams about my pants or about me being a pansy or something like that. Evening was falling, making me feel tired and empty after a day wasted with no real purpose. I came back to the square, sat down on a bench and gave an exhausted sigh. I'd better sit here and wait for dinner. After all, it's easier to search for answers when you're not hungry. They do give food to the people here, right? You know, it's curious how the simplest human need can break the will to ponder on things, to strive for something. For example, I feel hungry now, so I care much less about where I am or what's happening to me. Could great people also be affected by this? And in that case, how did Spartacus start the slave uprising in ancient times? Well, maybe what makes them great is exactly their ability to overcome that shortcoming. Who knows? I can only conclude that I am not a great person, and it doesn't really matter which mechanism I serve as a gear in a society, the magics, or a weird pioneer camp. My thoughts were interrupted by the sound of bells chiming from a loudspeaker on a light pole. It must be the dinner call. I headed towards the canteen. It was a good thing that now I knew where it was. Olga Dmitrievna was there, standing on the porch. I stopped and looked closely at her, as if I were expecting something. She looked back at me for a while, but at last came closer. Semyon, what are you waiting for? Come in already. Guess nothing bad can happen if I go with her. My stomach backed me up here. The two of us went inside. The canteen looked like a canteen. I'd had a chance to visit a factory canteen at some point in my life. This one was exactly the same, just maybe a bit cleaner and more modern. Metal chairs and tables, glazed tiles on the walls and on the floor, unsophisticated tableware with the occasional crack. Guess that's what a canteen in a pioneer camp's supposed to look like. Semyon, wait a moment, we'll find you a place to sit. She looked around the place. Dvachevskaya, hold it right there. Olga Dmitrievna shouted at Alisa, who was passing by. What? What's up with your clothes? Anything wrong with them? Indeed, her attire looked somewhat provocative. I disagree. Get your uniform nice and neat right now. Alright. Lisa got her shirt right and walked past, shooting me an unpleasant glare at me. So, where can we find you a place to sit? There weren't a lot of free seats. Go over there, next to Uliana. Maybe Yeah, it's fine, the food's already on the table too. I had no other choice but to accept. Of course, there was the probability that the cutlets were poisoned with curare. I'm not familiar with that word. Curare? The mashed potatoes generously seasoned with arsenic and the glass filled with excellent antifreeze instead of compote. In common Russian language, cutlet is minced meat fried or baked in the shape of a bowl or a cylinder. Cylinder close to American patties. Compote is a drink made by boiling fresh or dried fruit in a large amount of water. Compote in French. They all looked so tasty that I had no chance to resist. Hey, what do you want? I replied rather rudely to Uliana, who was sitting next to me. Why didn't you play football with us? Because of my clothes, said I, pointing at the source of the problem. Oh, alright then, eat. However, there wasn't much left to eat. My cutlet was missing from the plate. Only Shu could have done it. No, more precisely, none but Uliana could have done it. Give me back my cutlet. In a big family, you snooze, you lose. It can cost you a cutlet if you're careless. Give it back, I'm telling you. Attempt to take the cutlet. Do not attempt to take the cutlet. Should we take the food from the little girl or not? Nah, fuck it. Or, well, we are hungry. But maybe we should be better than that. See, I don't have it. And indeed, Uliana's plate was empty. It seemed that this little girl eats as fast as she steals someone's cutlets. Take it easy, we'll work something out now. She grabbed my plate and ran off. There was no point in following her. If they wanted to poison me here, they could have done it in a much easier way. About a minute later, Uliana returned and handed me a plate with a steaming hot cutlet on it. Here's one for the starving. Thanks. See, worked out for the best. Was all I could say. I was so hungry that my suspicions were gone in a flash. I picked up my cutlet with my fork and... What the... Alright, some bug. No, not a bug, an insect. It got legs and it's wiggling. The plate fell to the floor and broke into pieces. The chair hit me hard on my leg while falling. I've disliked insects since I was a child, but when these creepy crawlies appear in my plate, there's just way too much. That's just way too much. You little... Uliana seemed ready for such a quest and was already at the door, laughing as if she had just heard a fresh stand-up comedy joke. I dashed after her. We ran out of the canteen. We were just a few dozen meters apart, and I felt I would catch this little girl easily. We ran through the square, past the club's house, and ran onto the forest path. I started to gasp for breath. I should have quit smoking, I guess. Uliana passed out of sight on the next turn. It can't be true that she managed to get away from me. It simply can't. I stopped and tried to catch my breath again. Night was falling. Looks like I'm lost. It's a bad idea to stay in the woods at night. Better get back to the camp. However, I had absolutely no clue which way to go. Well, gotta choose at random. Okay. I wandered for quite some time in the forest, and even thought of crying for help, but finally I saw the camp's fence beyond the trees. Everything fell back into place. The boss is gone, I mumbled quietly. On the one hand, there was nothing strange about that. The bus couldn't have just stayed there forever. On the other hand, it meant there was someone driving, because buses don't drive themselves. Or do they? This world seemed too normal, but every event here had at least two explanations for it. An ordinary, real, everyday explanation, and a surreal one. Certainly the driver could have just been off for a snack and I left too soon, and that's why. In any case, this is not the place for me. Whether that bus drives itself or not was probably an important question, but it was much more important to know how I had got here at all, and where this here was. The fields and the woods stretching towards the horizon had no answers. There was nothing familiar about them. A strange, odd, an alien world. However, at the same time it was absolutely not frightening. Either my self-preservation instinct decided to resign from its job, or all this running around the camp and the local pioneers had lulled me so much with their carefree normality that I was simply forgetting what had happened to me just a couple of hours ago. Although I probably just had no strength left to worry. All I wanted was some peace, calmness. I wanted to just have a break from it all. Only after that would I continue looking for answers, ready and reloaded. However, that would be some time later. And what about now? Can I allow myself to relax? It got completely dark, and in any case it was better to spend the night in the camp. I was about to head back when someone came up silently from behind. "Hello, what are you doing here so late?" It was Slider standing before me. I was so surprised that I jumped. "So you didn't catch Juliana, did you?" She smiled. I nodded disappointedly inside. "No wonder. No one ever has." "Yeah, she's a real rocket girl." Is there more to that utterance? That no one has ever caught Juliana? That seemed strange, or is it just me? She's a real rocket girl. She could have found a better use for her energy than looking for adventures. "You must be hungry. You didn't manage to have dinner after all." Indeed, I had completely forgot about my hunger, but after these words of hers, my stomach drew attention to itself by giving a traitorous rumble. Slavia smiled. "Let's go then." "What? Is the canteen still open?" "It's alright, I have the keys." "The keys?" "Yes, I have the keys to all the facilities in this camp." "How come?" "Well, I'm something like the camp leader's aide here." "I see. Well, let's go." It was an offer you can't refuse. When we reached the square, Sliva stopped in her tracks. "Excuse me, I should warn my roommate that I'll be late. She's so punctual herself and she'll be worried otherwise. You go on to the canteen and I'll come in a minute, alright?" "Alright." I really didn't expect to find somebody aside from myself there at such a late hour, and that somebody was apparently trying hopelessly to open the door. Without any secret thoughts, I walked up onto the porch. The lockpicker turned out to be Alyssa. I should have probably kept off and waited. She looked at me intently for a while, then said, "Don't just stand there, give me a hand or something." Meaning? "Help me open the door." Why? "'Cause I want some buns and kefir. Dinner wasn't big enough." Is that really a good idea? Aren't you hungry yourself, huh? Liana didn't let you have a normal dinner, did she? She smiled sarcastically. It's true, she didn't. It's fine, Sliver will come now and... What? That face. Guess I shouldn't have said that. I'm off then. And you'll pay for this. For what? You owe me 2 already. Alright, Alyssa is crazy. Having said that, Alyssa disappeared into the night. And what was the first one? Or the second one, for that matter. I warned her. She owes me one, if anything. Slava didn't keep me waiting for too long. Is everything alright? Yeah, why are you asking? No reason, it's nothing. Would be better if I didn't tell her about Alyssa. Everything's fine. I said that immediately heard a note of dishonesty in my voice. Well, shall we go? As for Slavia, she seemed not to have noticed anything, or at least she was pretending she hadn't. We entered the canteen. Wait a bit, I'll go get something. I sat down on a chair and obediently waited for my savior. My dinner was simple, a few buns and a glass of kefir. No wonder I bet hungry pioneers finished everything off. However, even that was far better than most of my usual diet. What do you usually eat, dude? Slava sat across the table and looked at me while I was eating. Is there something on my face? No, just... She smiled. So how did you like your first day in the camp? Well, I don't really know. It's silly to ask someone who suddenly found himself in a different reality whether he liked the food in the canteen, the camp leader, or his assigned hut. I really like the music here. It's alright, you'll soon get used to it. Slava stared out the window dreamily. Frankly speaking, I have no desire to get used to such things. But as for her, she doesn't know. Or at least she wants me to think that she doesn't. Well, all in all, it's nice here. I had to somehow break the awkward silence. Do you think so? She asked without any interest. Yeah, this place is so... I wanted to say retro, but I managed to hold that back. After all, it was retro for me, but what about them? It might be the only kind of life they knew. If the term life was applicable here at all. So how? She watched me closely, as if something important depended on my answer. Well, I don't know. Lovely. Yeah, it's lovely here. I guess you're right. She smiled again. It's very good that you think so. Why? Well, not everybody likes it here. What about you? Me? Yes. I love it here. It's great. Then you don't need to worry about what other people think. Well, I don't really worry. Slava laughed. This conversation seemed to be leading me far astray from where I wanted to get to. And you're worried yourself. Really? Why do you say so? Well, when someone is chewing so intensely... I'm sorry. It's okay. I couldn't bring myself to be more cautious around that girl. Why her in particular? Why not any other local inhabitant? Every one of them looked completely normal to me. Precisely normal, so normal it sends chills down my spine and into my marrow. Normal, not like a neighbor with a power drill in one hand and a subwoofer in the other. Not like a passenger you can often meet in a subway or on public transport. Not like a co-worker at the next table in an open plan office. Not even like a friend who only differs from other humans in his constant insistence. All of them look normal, as I expect them to be, with their own downsides but without any superpowers. And Slavia was also cute. I glanced at her stealthily, not knowing what to say. I'm sorry, I wanted to show you the camp, but ran off my feet. I didn't miss anything while on my own, I guess. Are you sure you haven't missed anything at all? She smiled so brightly that I had to drop my eyes in confusion. Well, how would I know? It's my first day here. Okay, and what have you seen so far? I've seen the square, this canteen, the football field. What about the beach? Just from afar. You really should go there. Or let's do it together. Yeah, okay, we will. Her naturalness started to scare me, but then I thought, what if everything that happens here is how it is supposed to be in this world? It looks strange only to me. Well, for them it is normal. Maybe I was thrown into the past? Yes, that would explain a lot. Can I ask a stupid question? No. Slavia smiled and stood up from the table. It's late. Can you find the way to Olga Dmitrievna's by yourself? Of course I can, but why should I go there? She'll settle you with someone. What for? Probably this question seemed stupid, because Slavia burst into good-natured laughter. You need to sleep somewhere, right? That makes sense. Fine, I'll be off then. Good night. Night. It's strange that she left in such a hurry. A bundle of keys left in the door, a lock, caught my attention. I was going to catch up to Slavia, but where does she live? And knocking on every door during the middle of the night didn't sound like a bright idea. Okay, another choice. Take the keys, leave the keys. Well, I'd rather have them before someone else takes them, and who knows what they'll do with them. I'm taking the keys. I'd better take them. I'll give them back tomorrow, because who knows what happens here at night. Such thoughts gave me chills. It's me who needs to be careful here in the first place. The night, though dark, wasn't silent at all. One could hear chirping crickets and the songs of the night birds and rustling trees from everywhere. A sudden desire to follow Slavia's advice and go to the camp leader's cabin appeared. I don't know why, but the sight of the unknown bronze builder of communism put me in a constructive mood. I sat on the bench and started to recall everything that happened today. It was all my constructive mood could offer. Here was much brighter than near the canteen, and tardy pioneers were running by, so this place didn't seem scary at all. Bus, summer camp, girls. I was so tired from everything new and strange that I couldn't come up with a single explanation for what was going on. I heard a barely noticeable rustle nearby. I shivered and looked in that direction. A girl, reading a book. Lena. I decided to move closer and talk. She was the only new person I had met here without exchanging even a few words. Hi, what are you reading? Lena was so surprised that she even jumped. Sorry, didn't mean to scare you. Never mind. She blushed and stared at the book again. So what are you reading? On the cover was written "Gone with the Wind." Praise the book, keep silent. Well, it is a good book. Why not? A good book, exactly. Thanks. Honestly speaking, I haven't read it, but I think that such literature suits her very well. Lena didn't seem to be interested in continuing the conversation. Well, if I'm bothering you... No, she answered while still looking at the book. Can I sit beside you for a while? Why? And really, why? Maybe just because I was very tired and having company is better than being alone. Maybe I wanted to try to find something out from her. I carefully examined Lena. But no, I doubt that. Well, I don't know. I'm not allowed to. Feel free. But if I'm bothering you... No, you're not. I can leave. Just say. Everything's alright. Okay then. I sat on the end of the bench carefully. After such an intense talk, staying here was the last thing I wanted. But it wouldn't be nice to just stand up and leave. That didn't really go well, huh? Lena hasn't answered anything. It seemed I made a fool out of myself. I bet if Ulrika was here, she'd have a good laugh at me. Do you enjoy being here? I recalled Slavia's question and thought it would be a good start for a conversation. Yes. She smiled slightly. I guess I like it too. Lena definitely isn't very sociable and probably can't carry on a meaningless conversation as easily as Slavia. But there was something about her that attracted attention. Like a momentary glimpse of a reflection in the glass of a rainy autumn evening, which makes you turn around and stare into darkness, searching for something that you saw out of the corner of your eye. Of course, you weren't able to distinguish or understand what it was, but it still felt so tempting. Lena was still reading the book without paying any attention to my presence, and I had no intention of asking her anything about this camp or this world in general. Beautiful night. Yes? How in the world would you start a conversation with her? It's late. I have to go. Yes, it's quite late. Good night. Night. There was something strange about that girl. At first glance, she is a typically shy and modest pioneer girl, but the mystery of Lena took its own place in the massive list of mysteries about this camp, which I had started to put together in my head. A lazy evening. There's nothing like a good time with nothing to do. I headed towards Olga Dmitrievna's cabin. The light in the house was on. Hello, Simeon. You're quite late? Yeah. I went for a walk and to look around the camp. Alright. You'll be sleeping here. She pointed her finger at one of the beds. Right here? I was a bit surprised. Yeah, is something wrong? We are out of free cabins anyway. The camp leader smiled, but I rather think it was just out of politeness. You do want to be a decent pioneer, don't you? Is that the start of a porn movie? There was a clear emphasis on the word decent. Yep, sure. I was lost in thought for a moment. Don't you mind it? Don't you mind it, mademoiselle? She looked at me oddly, with surprise and some offense in her eyes. A pioneer should respect their elders, Olga Dmitrievna said strictly. Of course you should. No one argues with that. I blathered, not realizing what was wrong. Shouldn't you also? She stared at me. Under such a gaze, even mithril forged by the best dwarf masters from the deepest dungeons would melt. Should I what? What's up, dudes? Annoyance and a lack of understanding made me raise my voice. You must address adults appropriately. Yes, of course, there are a lot of strange things here, but this girl is just a couple of years older than me, maybe even younger. But I decided not to argue. Well, just a few minutes ago, I would never have called her an adult. I have to admit that she was also given a strong character, and in any case, I wasn't in a position to argue. As you say, ma'am, I mumbled. That's much better. That is how a decent pioneer should conduct himself. And now it's time to sleep. Honestly speaking, I was going to become neither a decent nor an indecent pioneer. Just yesterday I wasn't going to become a pioneer at all. But do I have a choice now? If you don't want to, we'll have to make you. This is the motto Olga Dmitrievna was probably going to use. I climbed onto the bed and closed my eyes to realize how tired I was after today. Something hammered in my head awfully, as if my brain had started a night shift, and they seemed to be aimed more at rolling steel than working on something more sensitive. The bus flew through my mind, and the square with the monument, the canteen full of pioneers, and the malicious face of Uliana, Slavia, Lena, and even recalling Elisa didn't give me too much of a negative feeling. What if I'm here for good? Alright, that was day 1, and day 2 will follow shortly. I will save it right here and continue next time.